Hi everyone, hope you are staying safe and healthy. As a crafter who's been greatly inspired by little things that surround me, these days I couldn't help creating a quarantine-themed card. So to start with, I'm going to need a lot of miniature toilet paper rolls. To make all of these rolls, I'm going to need just one paper straw, and I will also need 1 or 2 squares of paper towels. You can actually use real toilet paper, and don't worry, you won't need a lot. I'm going to use a craft knife to cut the straw into pieces. You can also use the scissors. I'm going to cut the straw into pieces of 3 different sizes, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, and I'm also going to need one piece that is 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to use this larger roll for a focal point. By the way, you can also use a plastic straw, but the paper one should look more lifelike. So this is what we should end up with at the moment. As you see, this one straw is going to allow us to store up a lot of paper. Next, I'll be using my paper trimmer to trim the paper towel into the strips, and the width of the strips is going to be the same, that is 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, and also 1 or 2 strips that are 3/4 of an inch. And again, you can use the scissors for cutting. The result is going to be the same. So now we have a bunch of strips along with a bunch of tiny rolls, and we are ready to start putting the toilet paper rolls together. I'm also going to use liquid glue to keep the roll together, so I'm applying a tiny bit of glue at the end of the strip, and I'm sticking down the roll onto it, and then I'm applying more glue all along the strip. You are just going to need a teeny tiny amount of glue, and I'm rolling it up until I reach the end of the strip. It's really easy to do. It's a lot like a paper bead technique. So that was the 1/2 an inch roll, and this one is the largest one, that is 3/4. I'm rolling it up exactly the same way, but this time I'm just going to leave a longer tail at the end just for more interest, since it's a focal point. The technique for 1/4 of an inch ones, the smallest ones, are again exactly the same. I'm sticking down the roll onto the strip and rolling it up until the end. And by the way, if you cannot roll up this paper evenly, it's not a problem. Some of it will always be sticking out of the edge of the paper straw, if you know what I mean, but it's not a problem. We're going to fix it later. As we all know, toilet paper is extremely forgiving. The reason I'm making 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 an inch rolls is reducing the bulk of the finished card. On a finished project, some of the rolls are going to stand up and some of them are going to be stacked up facing us with their tops. And I just didn't want those stacked up ones to stick out too much from the card. This is also why I have added more paper to the 1/4 of an inch rolls. That is because we are going to see the actual thickness of this roll. And finally, we can take the scissors and we can trim off all the extra paper from the sides, making everything nice and straight. So this is how I made all those toilet paper rolls, and now we are ready to start assembling the card and putting everything together. I will be using a KRAFT card base that is 4¼ by 5½ inches. And then I'm going to attach a piece of patterned paper onto it. And this background is about 1/4 inch smaller, so I have a thin border all around the edges. I'm also going to use Nested Rectangles die set to die cut a frame for my card out of the wood grain paper. And by the way, this wood grain paper that I'm using is from the paper pad by KRAFT Consortium called Wood Textures. All the tools and supplies that I'm using are going to be listed down below in the description box, as well as on my blog. I have used the same rectangle dies to create one more identical frame, but this time out of thick KRAFT cardstock. I'm going to back up the patterned paper one with this thicker one just to give it more sturdiness. And by the way, I'd like to answer the question what this piece of string is. The matter is, I'm using this Nested Rectangles die set so often that I prefer not to hide it away, but keep it at hand. So I'm using this piece of string to hang it on a little peg just above my work surface. To attach the frame to the card, I'm going to use some foam squares. These ones are by CraftStash and they are extra thick, 3 millimeters, which is actually even more than a double layer of regular foam tape. So I have attached the foam squares all around the frame at the wrong side. I peeled off the liner and then I'm centering the frame on my card and pressing it down slightly. Now when I have the background and the frame ready, I can create my little scene inside this frame. I'm going to use a couple of dies. They are from different sets by Paper Discovery. I'll have them listed in the description below. One of them is a sleeping cat image and another one is the word calm. I have backed up a piece of white cardstock with the KRAFT foam, then I've die cut my images and this way I already have a lot of dimension to them. All I have to do now is to stick down all the elements onto the background, and I'm starting with the largest toilet paper roll that is going to be hanging on the wall, and then I'm also going to stick down the sentiment. I'm using the liquid glue all the time. This one I'm using is Ranger Multimedia Matte. Next, I'm going to keep using the liquid glue to attach all the toilet paper rolls, and I'm stacking the 1/2 inch one at the corner as if they are standing, and then I'm also adding the 1/4 inch ones to the bottom of the card. The funny thing is that I thought I made more toilet paper rolls that I was going to use on this card, but I ended up using nearly all of them. So the conclusion is yes, you are going to need more toilet paper than you think you're going to use. Then I'm also attaching a sleeping cat image on top of the stack of rolls. Cats do like playing with the toilet paper, don't they? Then I just keep adding more rolls to balance the right and the left side of this card. And then I think I can call this project done. By the way, I have a little announcement to make. I have created a group on Craft World that is dedicated to quarantine crafting. In case you don't know, Craft World is the free social platform for paper crafters. In the description below, I have added an invitation link to Craft World if you are not yet a member. And if you are, there is also a direct link to this group. You are welcome to join and share your projects and ideas. So this is what the finished project looks like. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you don't find this theme particularly pleasant, then please accept my apologies. I really couldn't help it. Have a wonderful day, stay calm and optimistic, and please join my group. I'll be happy to chat with you. Bye bye!